And now I'd like to introduce Associate Vice President for Marketing and Events at the Metro Chamber, Greta Seidman.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. Thank you for being here. In addition to my role at the Chamber, I am also the staff lead for our Military Affairs Committee, which has a procurement subcommittee and will provide procurement resources and programming throughout the year, including a procurement lounge at Preview Las Vegas coming up on January 24th, which I'll touch on at the end of the program. But let's get started on Procurement 101. Okay, so why public contracting? The federal government sets aside $400 billion in annual purchases, and 23% of those are allocated to small businesses. And the federal government has met that goal for the last 2 fiscal years. So that's just not a lofty pie in the sky. That's a significant chunk of money that's going to small businesses. And we hear from several of our members who take advantage of procurement opportunities in the Valley that these are make their fiscal year type of contracts. So not have to worry about keeping the lights on, not have to worry about making payroll. So these are significant contracts. And it makes sense because Southern Nevada is a prime procurement marketplace with Nellis, Creech, and the Nevada Test and Training Range. We have, our different municipalities in the cities and the county as well as the state. We also have a very robust airport corridor, the LVCVA, and other local, state, and federal agencies. And then as well, it's important to remind everyone that while this is a webinar dedicated to federal, local, state, public agencies and procurement opportunities, with the resort corridor and several of the major gaming and hospitality properties having headquarters here, there are also significant opportunities in those private agencies as well, such as MGM Resorts, Caesars Entertainment, Boyd Gaming, as well as a lot of our utilities and other companies. So that's always something I like to mention and to keep in mind as well. So getting started, it can be a little daunting to kind of get started in the federal and public marketplace, but here are just some basic quick steps to take to kind of get yourself started. First, always make sure you're eligible. The SBA sets size standards for contracts identified as set-asides for small businesses, and you can find that information at sba.gov/tools. There's a size standards tool. It's very easy to use. That'll kind of help you figure out if you meet those eligibility requirements. You'll need to select a North American Industry Classification System code. We're going to throw around a lot of letter terms today, so I'm just trying to keep them a little bit straight. Can be a little bit daunting, but like Danica mentioned, this will all be available on the website for you to reference later. That best describes your businesses. Small businesses are usually defined in terms of either average number of employees or average annual receipts, sometimes both. It just depends on what agency and what type of contract it is. Your company must be a for-profit, independently owned entity with a place of business in the United States, and most of those specify that you have to operate primarily in the U.S. or make a significant contribution to the U.S. economy through tax payments and or the use of American product, labor, or materials. You'll also need to obtain, if you haven't already done so, a Duns & Bradstreet DUNS number, and you can find that at fedgov.dnb.com. It's also a very user-friendly system. You'll also need to create a profile for the System of Award Management, which is known as SAM, at sam.gov. This is a really important step because this is kind of a resume for your business for the public contracting marketplace. It is also full of really great information like user guides, quick start guides, other webinars, and more to help you get started. And once you're registered, agencies and contractors can search for your business right through there. So again, really important that you have a well-planned and robust profile on that SAM system. And the SBA also has some resources on their website to kind of help you navigate that as well. In Southern Nevada, we have a very large military presence, so if you're interested in military contracting, there are some additional steps you'll need to take. identifying the Federal Supply Class of Service, FSC/SVC codes, and Product Service codes. You can get more information on those and how they apply to your particular business at acquisition.gov. You'll also need what's known as a CAGE code, that stands for Contractor and Government Entity Code. If you're registering in the SAM system for the first time, though, a CAGE code will be assigned to you, so you won't have to worry about that if you're starting from scratch. Okay, so in addition to a pile of the federal contracting money that's already allocated to small businesses, there are some additional ways you can gain a competitive edge, and those are through certifications and the small business set-asides. This can be a really powerful tool in helping your small business compete for and win public and private contracts. Set-asides can be open to all small businesses, and others are only open to some with certain designations or certifications. And in the public sector, those set-asides are based in part on the value of the goods or services of the contract in different increments. And it is worth noting that the federal government, there are prime contracting sub-goals for some of these designated businesses in different socioeconomic categories. One of them is the Women-Owned Small Business Program, and to be eligible as a Women-Owned Small Business Program, or WOSB, a company must be at least 51% owned and controlled by one or more women and primarily managed by women. Also, they have to be U.S. citizens, and the company must be small in its primary industry according to those SBA size standards that we went over a little earlier. There are some additional steps if you'd like to get registered as a WOSB program. There is a federal contract program regulation dedicated to the WOSB program in the Federal Register, as well as a compliance guide, and both of those are available on SBA.gov. You do have to register and represent your status as in your SAM profile, and there is an additional designation as an economically disadvantaged women-owned small business, which will give you a little bit of an extra edge because there are additional set-asides for those. But you do have to demonstrate economic disadvantage in accordance with the SBA's requirements, which are available at SBA.gov. The SBA, after that, you have to log into the SBA's general login system, which is located at eweb.sba.gov, and obtain an account if you don't already have one. There is a program repository where you can upload your required documents and kind of navigate those contracts that are set aside to that designation. Another small business set-aside program is the 8A Business Development Program, which aims primarily to help small disadvantaged businesses compete in the marketplace. And this is a pretty robust and involved program, but it's had a lot of success, especially in the last few years. It basically helps entrepreneurs perform in government contracting. It is a long-term participation agreement, and 8A firms can receive sole source contracts up to $4 million for goods and services and $6.5 million for manufacturing. It is also good to note that businesses can form joint ventures to more competitively bid on these larger contracts. So always keep in mind, those in your network that might be able to help out with that. In addition, there are also specialized business training, counseling, executive development opportunities available, and 8A businesses can obtain access to surplus government property, supplies, SBA guaranteed loans, and bonding assistance. So it's a pretty robust program if you qualify for it. There's also a mentor and protege program within the 8A program that gives kind of more established businesses participating in 8A to the opportunity to coach newer participants. It is good to note, though, there is a comprehensive review and accountability system built into the 8A program that includes annual reviews, business planning, and regular evaluations. So to qualify for that 8A program, you must be 51% owned by an individual who's a U.S. citizen and must be majority owned and controlled by someone who is economically disadvantaged. There's an SBA requirement for disadvantage, both social and economic, and the criteria for both of those can be found at SBA.gov. And there is a good character and business potential element to qualify for that program. The next one is a service-disabled veteran-owned program, and that one gives agencies the authority to set aside contracting opportunities specifically for these SDV or service-disabled veteran-owned businesses. It is a popular program here in Southern Nevada with the quantity of veterans that we do have in our region. There are sole source awards to these businesses, so it is there is a lot of potential there. And the business to qualify must have a service-connected disability that's been determined by the Department of Veterans Affairs or the Department of Defense. The veteran must own 51% of the business and must control the management of the business, as well as occupy the highest officer position of that business. And again, all of these have to be classified as small under the NICS and SBA designations. The Department of Veterans Affairs for this specific set-aside has assembled an initial verification application guide as well as fact sheets, webinars, and other resources to kind of get you started, help you determine eligibility requirements, and help you apply for the proper programs. You can get to these as well as the Verification Assistance Program through the VA website at va.gov. And there are also some additional resources on the SBA's website as well as the General Services Agency, so there's a lot of assistance available out there for that type of a program. And the final one I'm going to touch on today is the historically underutilized business zone, or what's commonly referred to as the Hub Zone program. And this program is aimed at helping small businesses in designated urban, rural, BRAC, Indian Reservation, and difficult development areas outside the U.S. mainland to gain access to federal contracting opportunities. And I will note there is a very comprehensive map on the SBA's website that shows exactly what these economically disadvantaged or historically underutilized business zones are. There are several in Clark County and the surrounding areas, as well as throughout Nevada. So I definitely would encourage you to check and see if you would qualify for that program. To be eligible, again, must be designated as a small business by the SBA standards, have to be owned by or controlled by a U.S. citizen or a community development corporation, agricultural cooperative, or Indian tribe. The principal office must be located within a designated hub zone, and at least 35% of its employees must reside in that zone. For individuals, the company must be controlled by at least 51% U.S. citizen. And like the Women-Owned Small Business Program, the business must have an account with the GLS system and then submit a completed online hub zone application with any supporting documentation. For more information on the hub zone program, like I said, the SBA is a great resource, as well as Nevada's Procurement Technical Assistance Center, which I'll get into in a few minutes as well. So those are just some of the certifications you can explore having if you qualify that can help you gain a more competitive edge. So resources, I just touched on the Nevada Procurement Technical Assistance Center, PTAC, and this is through the Governor's Office of Economic Development. It's a really robust agency, and their goal is to help small businesses gain federal and public contracting opportunities. So they exist to help connect you with those opportunities. They are a great organization, and they will be at preview in our procurement lounge. I mentioned the U.S. Small Business Administration quite a few times. I can't say enough about the depth of information and resources on their website, especially in regards to contracting and procurement opportunities. And there's articles, guides, webinars, kind of the whole shebang on that one. For the veteran-owned small business programs, va.gov is a great place to start. The General Services Agency is also has a myriad of excellent resources, as well as the Nevada Gov e-marketplace, and this is a good place to kind of peruse what's available. In addition, the Chamber has a few publications in recent years that are dedicated to procurement, especially in regards to small businesses. And you can look at those at lvchamber.com, notably the November 2015 and February 2016 issues. Okay, so just a couple of things to remember. As small business owners, we're extremely busy. We wear lots of hats, but make a point of looking for government contracts regularly. If you're investing enough time to create a SAM profile and dedicate yourself to competing for these contracts, I recommend searching for them regularly. contracts are not one size fits all, and this is something that the SBA and the PTAC regularly try to drill home. Like a resume, you don't want to have one version that you blanket send to everyone. You'll want to customize your bids and any responses to RFPs that with specific call-outs and references to why you'd be an ideal contractor for that particular bid. And lastly, if you don't think government contracting applies to your business, one of the things that struck me when I was very early involved with the Military Affairs Committee is that Nellis Air Force Base and a lot of our public entities right here in Southern Nevada contract everything from linen services to dairy deliveries. They do quite a bit in literally almost every single sector, industry. So before you think it doesn't apply to you, check out what's available and what, both public and private, because you never know. And like I said, a lot of these are, make your fiscal year and make your budget kind of opportunities. So with that, I know I've spouted a lot of resources and a lot of first steps, but wanted to open it up for questions to see if there was anything I could address.
Just a quick reminder, if you would like to ask a question, you can do so by typing it into the chat feature on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, or you can press *7 on your phone to unmute your line. And if there are any questions coming in, if you don't have a question now and you think of a question sometime in the near future, I just want to remind everyone that you can always give the Chamber a call, and we'll direct your questions to Greta, or if I don't know why she wouldn't have the answer, but she can also direct your question to someone else. So it doesn't look like we have any questions coming in at the moment, but definitely if you think of a question after the fact, please give us a call, 702-641-5822, and we'll get your questions answered.
And I'd just like to remind everyone that Preview Las Vegas on January 24th, we will have a procurement lounge set up. And this is when we'll have representatives from PTAC and SBA and other agencies that do the federal contracting and local and state contracting. And they'll be available to meet one-on-one with you. So this is a really great opportunity because these folks aren't normally available for one-on-one questions about how your particular business can best interface with them on a purchasing and contracting side. It's a fantastic opportunity. More information will be released on it in the next few weeks, but it's a fantastic opportunity, and I hope to see you there.
And it does look like we have somebody on the call who's wanting to ask a question.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So is there any way I could access the information that was shared in the webinar? Could it be emailed? Is there another way I could have that information just so it's right here at my fingertips?
Yeah, absolutely. So feel free to send us an email.
Okay.
Send us an email, dtorchin@lvchamber.com. It's DTORCHIN @lvchamber.com, and I can send you a copy of this webinar.
Okay, super. And if I may just reconfirm, that's D David, T Tom, O Octopus, R Rabbit, C Cat, H Heaven, I Igloo, N Nancy @lvchamber.com.
That is correct.
Super. And in the subject line, I'll just put webinar. Just put webinar. Okay, and my name is Siobhan McLean. I'm with the Downtown Grand, so I'm going to send you this right now.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you, ladies.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
You do the same. Thank you.
And if there are no more questions, thank you all so much again, and we'll see you next time.